Okay, so we are back and we are going for the claw of that beast. And for this piece I'm going to paint it with orange tones. Okay, I really like when there are some kind of claws and these arms. I like to do it with these colors, and I think in this case it's going to look pretty cool. And for it I'm going to go for Macarius Solar Orange. This paint is from the Foundation Gamma. I think they didn't sell it. Anymore. I buy it years ago in different packs, so I keep them. I really like this orange because as a base works pretty good, and I use it for fires and for most of my orange. After that, I'm going to use a Reglan Fleshite wash. I'm not really sure if I'm going to go with this wash or I'm going to try one more red, but for the moment I think we are going with the same as the skin for the same reason, because it have red pigment, and with orange it normally works very good. For the first light, we are going with the Troll Slayer orange. This orange is really life color. It's very intense, and I like it to use it in most of my miniatures. I love to paint the miniatures on a very vibrant and life colors. And then I'm going to mix it with the Iriel yellow. I'm going to make a mix between these two to get the final lights. But maybe I change my mind in the middle of the process. I'm not sure. And of course, for the final lights, I'm going for a nice yellow, for the same reason as I told in videos before, because I like to upgrade or scale the light of the colors with other clear colors, and not with white, because it kills a little bit the intensity and the tone of the colors. As I explained, I normally use the light flesh and ice yellow, and if you try it for make non-metallics and for skins and tal, you will see that the lights you're getting at the end are more vibrant, are more intense than if you use only white. And for white, normally there are another options for paint, more expensive, but they also works very good. But for the moment we are going for this. So here we go. I will need to thin this paint a little bit because it got a lot of times and it's really dry as well. It keeps working. I'm going to use a number 2 of Winsor & Newton brush because it will go faster for make the base and paint more area in every stroke. Okay, as I explained in the other videos, the best dissolution or mix with water for the paint is when you get that point where you can cover with only 1 or 2 strokes. As you can see, I'm using an orange color, and normally these kind of colors are very complicated to make a solid base in just one brush stroke. And as you can see here, it's almost covering everything over a black frame. So it's important. You maybe need to practice a little bit, but one time you get that point and that agility to find this perfect equilibrium between the water you put and or the thin you paint, is you will be able to do a lot of things, and you will be faster. And for other kind of paint works, it also is very useful to know how to thin your paints on a good way. Also, this color, as I say, the Foundation Gamma colors are very solid colors, so it's very helpful to make a base of this kind and don't go crazy doing 2 or 3 bases to get a solid orange like in this case. Normally for this kind of colors, when I want to mark the details, as I explained, I go with red or with Rayclan washes. It depends on the day and how I wake up that day, to be honest. If what I want is something more realistic, maybe I go for the Rayclan because it's more darker and it's more, I don't know how to explain it, it's more regular, and the red give more intensity. But in this case we are going to the red wash. Okay, well, after this I cut the video, but normally I use a hair dryer to make faster the dry process, as you can read here. So if you don't have one in your studio, your painting area, I really recommend to buy one and got it there. So every time you need to dry something, you shoot the dry, and as you can see, it's just a moment. I could hear maybe 10 seconds of the video. So for this case, I'm going to use one green stuff color wash. Okay, they got a really nice gamma of washes. They are not so intense like the Citadel ones, but the Citadel ones at the end, some of them can give you some brightness. With this gamma, as I said, it's not so intense, but it didn't break so much, so I think it will work perfectly. And now just try to cover everything, expand all the paint, because if there is too much wash in some point, then you will get a pool there and it's going to shine like a mirror. As you can see in my videos, I use really often the washes. I think there is a very good tool for to work. It makes very easy all the detail definition, and then you only have to go to the details, and it's everything perfectly marked and limited where is every little detail on the miniature. If sometimes you got an excess of wash in some point, like for example here you can see between these parts of the cloud. Okay, what I do is I dry my brush on the paper totally, and then I go with my dry brush directly wherever is too many wash, and the brush absorbs all the paint that you don't want. Okay, with this I think we got everything covered, and I'm going again with the dry hair, or the hair dryer. Okay, and it's already dry, and as you can see, it is still having a little bit of brightness. That's normal, most of the washes got it. The inks got much more brightness, but it's okay because we are going to paint it most of the part. So if the shadow got a little bit of brightness, with the time it loses, or when you use a matte varnish to take out the brightness, it will disappear, so you don't have to worry about it. So now for the first layer, I'm going again for the solar Macarius. This time I'm going to work with a number 1 brush, okay, to get more precision on the details. And as always, I'm going to paint all the upper areas, respecting the limit of the other points. Very careful, but taking a lot of space of the detail to get room for work the afterlights. Now if the painting is not so thin, it's a little bit more dense, is okay, because we will have more control where we want to put the paint. And when we are working on small areas, I prefer to got the paint a little bit more dry, but I don't run the risk to split everywhere the paint. Okay, we are working, putting a lot of bright and a lot of paint in the upper areas, in all the upper cloud, and when we are going down, the areas with brightness will be smaller, so we keep working this light in the direction that we want, respecting always all the details, like the veins, like the small bulbs or tumors that it have, because all these little details are the ones that when you look the overall of the miniature is what you say, oh hey, I can see all the parts and everything that got, and then it's when a miniature looks fine. Now this is fast, without fear. And also the Citadel miniatures, Games Workshop make really nice miniatures. The modeling, it's awesome. The sculpture, it's very well defined, all the details and everything, so it's really pleasant to work with them. And also this guy is big, so well, as you can see here now, the point of the cloud, I'm paint more area, so I will have more room then to work on the lights. Also, when you paint these kind of layers, you have to think about how many light you want in some point, because if you just make a first very little light or little area, if you want to scale that point to make more brightness, every time you got more smaller point, and at the end it doesn't work. And also here, yes, my palette, the camera that was recording it just died and I didn't know it, so I will explain everything on the on the video. Here all the small details he have on this side. Also here, if you find an area without details, in this case I'm going to draw some lines, okay, to make my own textures, and then I will paint it. In this case, I paint too much, I didn't want to put all that paint there, so as the paint is not drier, just with the finger you can clean it carefully, and you are make a degree fast here. This is patience, and just repeat the process with every little teeny detail. Doing this and marking well the every detail, you can do it in one or two lights if you want. The transition will be more aggressive and will be more you will see how the color cuts and go to another. It depends on how many times you want to put on the miniature, and maybe just here with one more light it will work perfectly. I'm going to work it a little bit because I think we can do it, and you will see why at the end. Now I'm painting some points on the flesh part, okay? This will help to the transition, to don't make a hard transition from the arm and the flesh color to at the moment just orange. It looks a little bit weird, so this kind of trick that just make some little points and go a little bit up with the cloud and doing dots to make the transition between the two parts of the miniature more natural. Okay, on the second light I'm going to start with the troll oranges layer. At the first sight maybe you can think, well, it's not a big deal, they are almost the same color, but the change of intensity, it's really serious. So with this, what are we getting? We are not just only getting another layer of light, also we are getting a lot of intensity on this miniature. As I told you, I like when the miniatures look brightness, look with strong colors, and also it gives us the chance to paint the rest of the miniature with different kind of intensities. And also, of course, I think this cloud is one of the important parts of the miniature, so you will see it from far away and you will know that this guy is going to cruise you with that thing he got on the arm. Okay, here as you can see the point of the cloud, I want to make it ringless so you can see where it finished. So I'm painted a little bit more area over there, and here I'm just also almost following the same first layer I did, just leaving a little bit of room to start the transition of the light. At the beginning, when I was studying this miniature, I was thinking to make the cloud like maybe with greens or with some rotten flesh or whatever. But then I remember when I paint some Blood Bowl miniatures, one of the mutations they got is a cloud for the arm, and the all Games Workshop miniatures they always paint this kind of parts with very light orange, and I love it, that all the style. So this is why I decided finally paint it in an orange colors. Okay, with this we have already the second layer. And finally, I think I'm not going to mix with yellow. I'm looking for another orange. And in this case, I'm going to use the sunny skin tone from Vallejo. This flesh color, it's very intense because it have a little bit of orange pigment. So I think this mix will work perfectly for this case. As I told you, I'm always changing my mind. Well, I will explain you. You can do it with yellow if you want. It would look very intense. But in this case, I don't want to lose the orange essence of this cloud. So this is why I'm mixing these two colors on a 50-50% and starting to work more on detail, more carefully, to mark all the small parts of the cloud. Here I'm extending this layer to the arm. The flesh color and the mix that we are using now are very similar, so you will see how the step between the regular arm and the cloud is becoming more natural and looks more like it's coming from it, and it's not just like a wantlet that you put over there. The veins, as always, trying to paint a little teeny line on the upper area, and here on the tooth, or this little knife he have on the cloud, just working a line and giving the ringness on the last side. I don't paint all the line because I don't need it, and what I want to show and what I want that the people see on this miniature, it's all these small clouds he have inside this arm. At last, on the inner ones, here on the others I'm going to paint just a little bit more because it will help to give that volumetry to the piece. Sometimes if you want to make a second layer fast, just when it's dry, it will help, and you will note this change of color. As you can see, I'm using here the side of the brush. This is very useful to paint edges, to paint borders and everything, and I use it here because it's faster than not going with the line of the brush, because with just the point you are not going to do it. As you can see, just in 2-3 strokes you got delimited all the cloud almost. And now on the final part of the cloud, because we have here in the middle a lot of room without any kind of information, I'm going to draw some small lines like we paint on the last video on the horn. In this case, I'm going to make like he has some damaged the weapon, and adding this kind of little textures, it helps you to not paint a very clean transition, to do it so super cool, because maybe just adding some lines and some points you are cleaning a transition. It gives a lot of information, and just painting on this way, it's a fast way to work with some areas and giving more personality. And also here just a little dot to mark every detail. As you can see, always on the top limit and respecting the rest of the part. Now just on a fast view, you can see all these little balls he have on one side. You can see every tooth he have on the cloud, and it's just about to work very specific, knowing where you have to, where you want to go and how you want to paint it. I add some more lines on the plain side that it doesn't have any kind of detail, so I'm going to invent my own information here. I want to explain that here he can have some lines like it's a little bit broken or whatever. You can see four random lines, and it gives a lot of information. Here on the back side we keep working on the same way. Maybe you don't need to mark every single detail, because here the miniature starts to have hidden parts and all of this, and you don't need to paint it. Just the necessary details to show where is the detail and where is the volume. And as I told you, here inside on this side of the cloud, it's a little bit more complicated to paint it with a brush, and also it's not easy to build this point, so I'm going to let it how it is. Okay, I want the information on the front line of the miniature. I just want to play with my model painted, and I think that is all the necessary work it needs. If you want to paint it, you can paint it, but to be honest, you can let it on this way and it's working pretty well. Now to the mix I already have, I'm going to add a little bit of ice yellow to start working on the final lights. Okay, so we are going to repeat the same process that we have been done, but every time getting a smaller area. The most important part of this layer is just that: work in small areas with a lot of control, and always the lights working on the limit of his opposite side. I'm going to add a little bit of water here to the mix, because it was a little bit dense and I prefer a little more thin to work faster, and the paint runs as I like it. just a little dots here. All the parts are already looking great, but these small points and these small dots are giving it the last quality touch. As you can see here, I'm not cleaning any kind of transition, I'm not doing glazes, I'm just painting one layer over another layer. If you are looking it very close, you will see where I change every color, but if you go at the regular distance, it will look like a regular and normal transition. Here in the vein, I just put few lines to show it how it breathes. We keep working to make sure that all the textures are visible, and I think I'm not going to complicate more my life painting with this. Now what I have done is, with the same mix, I put my brush on the water and then I dried it a little bit on the paper, so I take all the paint and water I didn't need, and just with the remains of the paint and the brush still wet, so I can paint the lines, making sure that just in one stroke it will mark the line. And this is how I work the last lines on the final part of the cloud. Sometimes you make a mistake, you put some lines or your brush rapidly makes a mark where you don't want it. Sometimes you can work this little mistake a little bit and convert that mistake in another detail or another texture, so you don't have to be afraid if you make some mistake. You can fix it and you can make it part of the miniature. Now for it, that it have like this little I don't know the word, these little balls on the arm, so I'm going to mark it with just a very teeny point. And now I'm looking for the dots I painted before to make the transition between the arm and the claw, and just going with that mix to keep working on that transition. And now I'm going to use a blood letter glaze, okay, the red glaze from Citadel. As you can see, I dry a little bit the brush on the paper, as I told you before, just to get the quantity of paint that I can control. And I'm going to work on the middle area, okay, to keep working on the transition between the arm and the claw. And with this glaze, what I'm going is to paint to keep going a little bit more upside on the muscle of the shoulder, so it will make all the transition more natural. And with this we can give the claw already done. So see you on the next video, and any question I will answer it. See you.